It's a strange thing, staring into the concept of nothing, because the human mind immediately protests. Nothing is supposed to be simple. It's empty, void, non-existent. Right? Wrong. Because what you're about to think about isn't a literal empty room, or a vacuum you can feel, or the quiet between radio signals. No, this is nothing before the Big Bang, the kind of nothing that is more alien than any black hole, stranger than any quantum particle, and somehow more complicated than everything we've ever measured. And the first problem is that your brain wants to cheat. It wants to visualize, to frame, to give shape. But you can't. You can't imagine a state without space, time, matter, energy, or even the idea of before. Your intuition rebels, and your mind starts doing what it does best, panicking. Here's the funny part. Scientists talk about this seriously. They use words like quantum fluctuations, false vacuum, or pre-Big Bang singularity. But the language is mostly a polite way of admitting we have no clue. And yet, curiosity doesn't stop. People have spent centuries wrestling with the question, how do you have an event that creates everything if there was literally nothing to start with? It's like asking, how does the opening act of a play happen when the theater itself doesn't exist? It makes your head hurt a little just thinking about it, but there's also an irresistible thrill in the absurdity. To approach the question, humans naturally reach for metaphors, and they fail spectacularly. One common image is imagining a balloon that expands from a tiny point, the classic Big Bang picture. But here's the problem. That balloon analogy implies the existence of space outside it. But before the Big Bang, there was no outside. There wasn't even a concept of inside or outside. There wasn't a stage, a set, a theater. There was literally nothing. No time, no space, no cause and effect. And yet somehow this nothing produced something, a universe with all its matter, energy, dimensions, and rules. It's the ultimate magic trick, except it isn't magic. It's physics, and physics at this scale is a kind of logic that's more alien than fiction. Here's where humor sneaks in, because the question itself is absurd. Think about it. You, a human with a finite attention span, are trying to understand a state where even the concept of you doesn't exist. It's like trying to explain jazz improvisation to a rock. Or better yet, it's like a cat trying to calculate the trajectory of a comet. The tools of your mind, reasoning, comparison, cause and effect, don't work. And yet we keep trying. It's compulsive. It's frustrating. And it's beautiful. Because no matter how small or laughably inadequate, every insight about nothing before the Big Bang is a victory over the inherent absurdity of the problem. To make progress, scientists have to get creative. One approach is to turn to quantum physics, where nothing isn't exactly empty. Even a perfect vacuum seethes with possibilities. Energy pops in and out of existence. Particles briefly appear and vanish. The universe has a sort of jittery background hum that can't be quieted. In this framework, nothing isn't a boring zero. It's a field of potential. A quantum vacuum can fluctuate, and under the right conditions, a fluctuation can produce a tiny bubble of space-time, a seed for something that could grow into a universe. Suddenly, nothing is more like a fertile field than a void. It's not inactivity, it's potential. And here's the funny twist. Even though we call it nothing, this nothing is surprisingly active. Yet, it's crucial to understand that quantum nothing is not intuitive. We're used to thinking that something must follow from something else, that causes must precede effects, that events happen in a temporal sequence. But before the Big Bang, there was no before. There were no causal chains. In this context, a universe can arise from a fluctuation without violating any laws, because there were no laws, no time, no space in which laws could fail. The universe emerging from nothing doesn't break physics. It reveals a deeper kind of logic that we barely have the language to describe. And if that logic doesn't stretch your imagination, just try picturing it. A cosmic seed sprouting when nothing exists, and everything flowing from it. It's absurd, it's terrifying, and it's spectacular. Another avenue of thought is rooted in cosmology. Some models suggest that the Big Bang was not the beginning of everything, but rather a transition, a phase change from one type of reality to another. In this case, nothingness isn't truly the absence of everything. It's a state of potential energy, a pre-universe landscape poised to convert into space-time, matter, and energy. This makes the problem even stranger. Nothing might have structure of some kind, even though it's nothing in the sense we can grasp. And that is the truly mind-bending part. Nothing by definition cannot exist, but here it is. It is a stage, an environment, a condition, a backdrop, even though it defies our definitions. Philosophy joins the discussion at this point, and suddenly the conversation becomes delightfully awkward. What does it mean for nothing to exist? Can nothing be said to exist at all? Or is that word itself meaningless in this context? And if we can even talk about nothing, haven't we already made it something? It's a linguistic trap as much as a physical one. Every sentence about pre-Big Bang nothingness feels like a magic trick. The more clearly you try to describe it, the more the concept slides out of your grasp. And if that isn't a little funny, it probably should be. Humans, with our need to label and define, are wrestling with a state that is literally undefinable, and somehow, some part of us keeps thinking we can understand it. And then there's the observational side. You might think, well, if nothing existed, how can we know anything about it? But that's where physics gets clever. By studying the universe's expansion, the cosmic microwave background, and subtle fluctuations in matter and energy, scientists can infer properties about the early universe. These measurements give clues about the conditions immediately after the Big Bang, and even hint at constraints for what nothing must have been like. It's indirect, of course. Science rarely gets a front-row seat to pre-existence, but it's enough to suggest that nothingness before the Big Bang had rules, patterns, and potential. In other words, even nothing obeys logic. And here is where our brains quietly throw up their hands while marveling at the audacity of reality. The humor doesn't end there. Consider this. Every popular depiction of the Big Bang in media is spectacular explosions, fireballs, and chaos. But before the Big Bang, there is literally no space for explosions. No canvas to paint on, no motion, no room for drama. And yet, the universe began anyway. That's like trying to stage a fireworks display in a completely featureless void with no laws of physics. The absurdity is enormous, the physics is real, and somehow it worked. And that's the delightfully ironic twist. The birth of everything came from a stage that was utterly featureless, silent, and seemingly impossible. Then comes the truly staggering realization. Nothingness before the Big Bang may not have been nothing in the absolute sense we imagine. It may have been a state beyond categories, beyond existence and non-existence, beyond time, beyond potential in the way we normally think about it. It may have been the ultimate both/and, where the distinction between being and non-being simply doesn't apply. And if that is the case, trying to describe it using our everyday logic is not just difficult, it's fundamentally impossible. All language, all analogy, all reasoning fails. And yet, the mind insists on trying anyway, which, if nothing else, is hilariously human. And here's the kicker. The Big Bang didn't need permission. It didn't need a plan. It didn't even need a before. The universe simply emerged from whatever state preceded it, and in doing so it created space, time, energy, and the rules we now observe. From nothing, or something beyond nothing, everything exists. Stars, galaxies, planets, life, humans, curiosity, laughter, and existential dread all come from that singular event. And as mind-blowing as that is, it's also oddly comforting. Even if the ultimate origin defies comprehension, the universe's story continues, unfolding according to laws that we can observe, measure, and to some degree, understand. So while our brains struggle with the paradox, while philosophy argues with physics, and while humor quietly sneaks into the absurdity of it all, we can at least appreciate the elegance of the universe's beginning. From an incomprehensible state, reality emerged. From a place that was literally nothing, everything became possible. It's terrifying, it's awe-inspiring, it's profoundly confusing, and it's one of the rare moments where science, philosophy, and sheer human curiosity converge to tell the most extraordinary story imaginable. That the universe had no need to exist, and yet it does. And if that excites you, If the idea of nothingness giving rise to everything sparks even the tiniest thrill, then there's more to explore. Subscribing isn't just about watching a video. It's stepping closer to understanding how reality itself can emerge from the unimaginable. There are more twists ahead, more questions about time, space, and the very logic of existence. And the next stage of this journey is waiting. If you think nothing is boring, quantum physics is about to prove you spectacularly wrong. Because in the quantum world, nothing isn't really nothing. Even a vacuum, what we'd usually call empty space, hums with activity. Particles appear and disappear, energy blips in and out of existence, and the vacuum itself seems to have a personality of sorts. Unpredictable, restless, and sometimes cheekily contrary to what you expect. It's as if the universe, before it even existed, had a sense of humor. 1 second, it's absolutely nothing. The next, it's a jittering soup of potential that, given the right nudge, could explode into everything. And when you consider that this jittering might have been the spark for the Big Bang, it's hard not to chuckle at the idea that the entire cosmos started because of a quantum hiccup, like the universe sneezing itself into existence. But don't get too comfortable with humor. The deeper you dig, the stranger it gets. Quantum fluctuations don't obey classical intuition. Cause and effect, time and location, concepts we take for granted, are meaningless. Before the Big Bang, there was no before in the temporal sense, no here in the spatial sense. In that context, a fluctuation doesn't need a reason. It doesn't need a trigger. It just happens. And when it happens right, it can create a universe. That's mind-bending, but also oddly elegant. The cosmos doesn't need an engineer, a designer, or a script. It only needs a state in which something can emerge, and the rules we barely understand allow it to do so. Cosmologists also consider more exotic possibilities. Some theories propose that our universe is one bubble among countless others, a multiverse scenario. In this picture, the Big Bang isn't the absolute beginning of everything. It's just a local event, the emergence of a universe from a parent state that may itself be governed by physics we can't access. Imagine champagne bubbles forming in a bottle. Each bubble is a universe, expanding and separating from its surroundings. And the liquid itself, the medium that produces bubbles, is the pre-Big Bang nothing, but it's not inert. It's a fertile, dynamic landscape capable of giving rise to countless universes. It's simultaneously absurd and beautiful. The universe that contains us may be just one tiny bubble in a frothy, infinite cosmos. And here's where humor sneaks back in. Although sci-fi images we've seen of the Big Bang as a gigantic fireball are mostly wrong. There wasn't a center. There wasn't an explosion into space. Space itself was created in the process. The Big Bang was more like the universe deciding to start counting, rather than an event you could witness in the conventional sense. Imagine someone trying to watch a book write itself without any paper or ink. That's roughly what pre-Big Bang physics is like. And yet, human brains, stubborn as ever, insist on visualizing it, imagining it as a spectacle, and sometimes failing spectacularly. That's part of the fun. The universe is so alien that our attempts to picture it are inherently comical, but our curiosity is relentless anyway. String theory adds another layer of weirdness. In some models, the Big Bang arises from the collision of higher-dimensional brains, objects so alien that thinking of them in 3 dimensions is almost pointless. If 2 brains collided, the energy released could manifest as a universe like ours. And in that scenario, nothing before the Big Bang isn't exactly nothing. It's a higher-dimensional structure that we can't directly observe. It's a stage, yes, but a stage far beyond human comprehension, with its own geometry, rules, and potential for cosmic drama. The absurdity is delicious. What we call nothing might be the most elaborate, complex, and dynamic thing imaginable. And yet, through all the abstraction, there's a kind of grounding principle. Laws of physics still matter. Even before the Big Bang, whatever existed, or didn't exist, operated under constraints subtle and strange, but measurable in principle. Conservation laws, quantum rules, symmetry principles, they form the scaffolding on which universes can emerge. This is where mathematics becomes our only reliable guide. Equations, probabilities, models, they let us peek at a reality that our senses cannot grasp. It's a little funny, in a humble sort of way. Humans, with our puny lifespans and limited intuition, can understand aspects of a pre-universe that had no space, time, or matter. Our brains weren't designed for this, and yet somehow they manage. Then comes the truly existential twist. If the Big Bang emerged from nothing, or a pre-existent quantum foam, or a higher dimensional brain, the universe we live in was not inevitable. It could easily have not happened. Slightly different conditions, and there would be nothing, still nothing, and nothing to observe. Our entire existence is contingent on improbable fluctuations, on the alignment of cosmic dice rolled before time itself existed. That is terrifying, and it's hilarious. Mostly terrifying, occasionally hilarious. Because it makes every human worry, every petty squabble, every minor inconvenience seem spectacularly trivial compared to the improbability of existence itself. And of course, the humor is also in how we try to explain it. Nothing before the Big Bang has become a catchphrase in popular science, but it's wildly misleading. Nothing is never truly nothing. It's richer, stranger, and more active than any empty void we've imagined. And the moment we attempt to translate it into everyday language, we risk turning cosmic subtlety into absurd oversimplification. It's as if we're trying to explain a 3D hologram by drawing it on a napkin. And yet, we do it anyway, because curiosity demands it, and humor helps keep our sanity intact. The implications for time are staggering. Time as we know it began with the Big Bang. There is no temporal before in a conventional sense. Any attempt to ask what happened before is more a reflection of human thought patterns than a meaningful physical question. And yet, some theories suggest that time might be cyclical or emergent from deeper structures, or even that multiple time-like dimensions could exist in the pre-Big Bang state. Suddenly, nothing isn't just active, it's temporally rich. It may have hosted processes, patterns, or conditions that do not resemble what we call time, but are functionally similar enough to set the stage for a universe to appear. And in the middle of all this, human absurdity shines. We wrestle with definitions, argue over models, and sometimes get cross because popular media misrepresents the science. Scientists publish papers with titles like, "On the Emergence of the Universe from Quantum Nothing," and everyone nods gravely while silently thinking, "We're guessing, aren't we?" And that's part of the charm. Our species attempts to probe the unprobable, armed with curiosity, mathematics, and humor, all of which are hilariously insufficient but remarkably resilient. So we arrive at a strange conclusion. Nothing in the pre-Big Bang sense is both impossibly simple and wildly complex. It is a source of potential, a stage without a stage, a vacuum teeming with possibilities. It is fundamentally alien to human intuition, yet accessible enough for mathematics and imagination to reach a faint grasp of it. And it humbles us, terrifies us, and entertains us all at once. Because understanding nothing is not a failure of science. It is the ultimate triumph of curiosity. Even if we never fully comprehend it, we are allowed to witness, to reason, to speculate, and to marvel. And if that excites you, if the idea that the universe emerged from a state that defies every instinct and definition sparks your imagination, then you're already part of the journey. The next stage dives deeper. Quantum weirdness, competing cosmological models, and the philosophical puzzle of a universe that arises from nothing. And yes, it's stranger, funnier, and more mind-bending than you expect. Eventually, it becomes clear that nothing before the Big Bang isn't a void in the way humans usually imagine. It isn't empty space. It isn't silence. It isn't zero. Instead, it's a condition, a state, a set of potentialities, a kind of cosmic standby mode in which all the building blocks of reality could emerge but haven't yet. And the more you think about that, the more dizzying it becomes. Time itself does not exist, yet somehow change occurs in a sense beyond temporal measurement. Space does not exist, yet something manifests within it. The rules we rely on vanish, yet subtle patterns emerge. It's the ultimate paradox, a state that is both nothing and, in a sense, everything. And your brain, with its evolutionary insistence on cause, effect, and continuity, struggles, whines, and occasionally files a formal complaint. Humor is a necessary tool here. The absurdity of humans, with our short attention spans and need for narrative, trying to reason about a state that defies reason, cannot be overstated. We make diagrams on whiteboards. We simulate pre-Big Bang conditions on computers. We argue about equations that may describe realities with no reference points. And somewhere in the cosmic background, the universe probably chuckles softly at our insistence that we can fully understand it. But that laughter is part of the charm. The journey itself, the attempt to think the impossible, is the real reward. The deeper you go, the more the philosophical implications accumulate. If the universe came from nothing, then existence itself is not inevitable. Every atom, every star, every life form, every thought is contingent on conditions that are fundamentally improbable. And yet, here we are. Humanity exists not because it was predetermined, but because the universe's initial conditions allowed it to. And that realization reshapes the way you see life, purpose, and significance. Human dramas, political squabbles, and even existential dread are trivial in the face of cosmic contingency. But they are also precious precisely because they are fleeting. The improbability of existence makes everything we do simultaneously insignificant and extraordinary. Quantum physics keeps pulling us further into wonder. Pre-Big Bang nothingness may have been unstable, fluctuating, jittering, alive with possibilities. Tiny perturbations could give rise to energy, particles, and space-time itself. Our universe could have failed to appear countless times before succeeding. There may be other regions where it did not succeed. And if that is true, then what we call reality is a lucky outcome, a narrow window in a vast, indifferent landscape of probability. It's sobering, it's exhilarating, and it's strangely funny that, after billions of years of evolution, we are capable of reflecting on it at all. Speculation extends naturally from physics to imagination. Some models suggest cyclic universes, where expansion leads to contraction, which leads to another Big Bang, and another, ad infinitum. Other models imply that universes are popping into existence constantly, like bubbles in an eternal cosmic foam. In that case, our universe is one story in a multiverse anthology, a chapter in a narrative with countless volumes we will never read. It's comforting in a strange way. Nothingness is not static. It's fertile, dynamic, and capable of producing endless variations. And our existence, improbable as it is proof that even in the strangest, most abstract nothing, life and reality can emerge. As these ideas settle in, the philosophical reflection deepens. Nothing before the Big Bang forces us to reconsider the meaning of beginnings, causality, and reality itself. It challenges the assumption that every effect has a cause in a temporal sequence. It reframes time as a derived property, not a fundamental one. It redefines existence as emergent rather than necessary. And in all of this, it humbles us, while simultaneously inspiring the kind of awe that drives curiosity, exploration, and creativity. Humor persists in the absurdity. Our need to define and categorize bumps up against the fundamental undefinability of pre-Big Bang nothing. And yet, that friction sparks wonder, not despair. The cinematic conclusion is subtle but profound. The Big Bang was not a predictable event in a pre-existing stage. It was the emergence of the stage itself, along with all the actors, lights, and props. It reminds us that the universe is not bound by human logic, intuition, or expectation. And it also reminds us that consciousness, the ability to reflect, to question, to marvel, arises within this improbable, contingent cosmos. From the most fundamental level of nothing, we eventually appear. And that is staggering, hilarious, and inspiring all at once. Finally, the story folds back to us. In contemplating nothing, we are forced to confront scale, time, and contingency in ways we rarely do. We are tiny, brief, and improbable. And yet, we are capable of understanding, questioning, and imagining. That capacity, born from the improbable emergence of reality, allows us to participate in the story of existence. And in that participation lies both responsibility and privilege, to explore, to inquire, and to delight in the absurd, impossible, and beautiful nature of reality itself. And if that sparks curiosity, if the idea that everything arises from a state beyond comprehension excites you, then there is more to explore. Subscribing isn't just a gesture, it is a commitment to the adventure of thinking beyond the imaginable, to continue asking questions about time, space, and reality, and to marvel at the improbable journey from nothing to everything. Because the story of the universe didn't start with us, but it is unfolding, and we are fortunate enough to witness it.